A major part of a successful practice in business is learning how to market properly. Marketing and sales are the lifeblood of any good business. The problem most of us run into as busy therapists is that we really don't know what to market, what to say, or how to say it. I always say the best marketing comes from being able to properly identify a problem a potential client might be having, explain what is going on, educate them properly, and show them how you are a solution to help solve the problem. It is definitely a lot to do, but over the years I have learned how to communicate effectively and position myself as a solutions provider, all through the art of educating and telling stories. So, in a new segment of the Soft Tissue Revolution podcast, I'm going to be sharing a podcast each week that would be geared more towards if you were marketing it to a potential client, so you can see how to structure a good strategy and explain issues effectively that will bring you in new clients consistently. At the end of the day, people want to come to someone who is a true expert, sharp as a tack and enthusiastic as hell. And the goal of sharing these podcasts is to help you get on that level so you can help more people and make more money. As a side note, for anyone else out there that is in pain or struggling with an injury, these episodes will help get you some real answers and get the help you deserve. I hope you enjoy the show. In the last episode, I shared who this podcast is for and how it will help. Now I'm ready to jump headfirst into the content, and up today is one of our favorite topics that always seems to ruffle a few feathers. In this episode, I cover why it's not very likely that a chiropractic adjustment will fix your injury and the limitations of that treatment method. Even better, this statement is coming directly from someone who is a chiropractor. I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Peak Injury Solutions podcast. I am your host, Dr. Matt Maggio, and I am on a hell of a mission to make chronic injuries obsolete. Had some good downloads from the first episode, so it gave me some external factors to want to continue going, getting some of that instant feedback, that instant gratification. But now we can get into the real gist of the podcast and what I want to do. Talked about that on the first episode, like who this podcast is for, who we want to help, how we want to help, went into our mission statement, everything like that. If you haven't, go back and listen to that so you'll understand if this is a good podcast for you. But let's get right into it. So the title, as it says, an adjustment will not fix your injury. And that's coming from a chiropractor. So let's start off with what some might consider a bold statement. Just what I said before. An adjustment will not fix your injury. Let's do it again. A chiropractic adjustment will not fully fix your injury, especially in the long term. Any haters out there? I get a lot of hate mail when I start talking about this. I get a lot of hate mail. You can just find me directly wherever you want and let me know why I am blasphemous, why I am speaking as a heretic and all that, and send me over that and send me all your research and all your nonsense and all your bullshit and go from there. But this podcast is not for haters because I don't like dealing with haters. But needless to say, I am the chiropractor who doesn't adjust ever. And here's why. So back to my story. I was in school. I was in the 5th trimester of my 10 trimesters, and we were in this class called Applied Kinesiology. A lot of stuff was happening. I really thought the teacher was kind of a pompous asshole, but I won't go into that. But basically, they did this whole thing where this person said they had like a neck problem or a shoulder problem, and the teacher's like, okay, well, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do this muscle testing. Oh, look how weak that is. Oh, see, that's really weak. And then basically what she ended up doing was like some nonsense, like quick little pop there. And then essentially what happened was right afterwards, they retested that area, retested that muscle. And the person was like, oh, this is great. I feel better. And the teacher's like, look how strong that is. Can you see the healing power of chiropractic and the adjustment and everything like that? And the room was cheering. They were so happy. They're like, oh, I can't believe I got into this great profession, everything like that. And essentially what happened for me, I have a background in psychology and I'm big on the placebo effect. And I raised my hand and asked a question and I said, how do we know you actually made a change? Are we going to be able to test that out a day later or later on in the day? are we going to be able to actually know we've made a change in the tissue and fixed it? And the teacher looked at me like her head was going to friggin' explode. And she just said to me straight up, she said, Matt, if you don't believe in the healing powers of chiropractic, maybe you should just drop out of school. Well, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I started thinking about that. So now I had some struggles. First one was, I'm like, am I an outcast? Am I a heretic? Am I someone that doesn't believe in the true power of chiropractic? Maybe so. But you know what? I'm already halfway through this journey. I've already put 80 grand of money into getting this education. What the hell am I going to do now? And once again, I'm like, shit, did I make the wrong decision? And it was tough. And I was scared. I was frustrated. I was angry. I wanted to tell that teacher where she could go, but I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this problem is with me, not with what I'm asking and asking questions about what's going on. So I took a different approach. And I started asking questions. And I started thinking about anatomy. And I started thinking about muscles and ligaments and soft tissue. Because I'd always loved that when we were doing anatomy in the early training, but I never really understood the true power of the tissue. And I began asking myself, I'm like, if muscles and ligaments and soft tissue hold the joint in place and the joint keeps going out of place, why don't we fix the soft tissue to keep it from going out of place? And when I said that to people, they're like, maybe you're right. But most people are like, yeah, but we're chiropractors. That's what we do. We adjust. And I go, yeah, but if we have something that's better and we can go in there and fix the soft tissue, then what? So I started a new journey and I started really diving into soft tissue and understanding anatomy and learning it. I took so many more seminars. I started going to more and more training outside of school. I just dove in deep to soft tissue, everything related with soft tissue, because I'm like, I think I'm onto something. I think I have this epiphany that I'm going to be able to fix these problems for good by addressing the soft tissue. And I realized, you know what? I'm still going to finish out my degree. No one can tell me what I can do or can't do. Like if I want to just treat soft tissue as a doctor, that's fine. So what I did was I only focused on the bare necessities of what I needed to do to get through my boards, get through school, and did the adjustments that they told me I had to do. I never did anything extra. And all I did was get better and better and better at soft tissue, learning anatomy. And I really had this big epiphany when I was in what's called student clinic, when other members of the faculty, other staff members, other students would come in and get treated. And I started doing some of that soft tissue work because luckily I had a clinician that let me do kind of what I wanted to do because they didn't really care at that point. And I started actually getting people better and started fixing people more and more. And before I knew it, I had a bunch of different high up members of the faculty that were coming in to see me because they wanted that soft tissue treatment. And it really started blowing me away. I was like, oh man, maybe I'm onto something. So fast forward, finished school, got my doctorate, got by, passed the boards, did everything that I could. And then I got back out in the real world. And I got into what I saw as the true nature of the chiropractic profession. And I started seeing things that I really didn't like. The profession itself, it means well. It wants to help people. But it's very dogmatic. And essentially, they can't really show you any real data of long-lasting effects of just the adjustment. Everything that they're doing in their studies is all temporary. But at the end of the day, don't we want to fix people for good? Now, don't get me wrong. An adjustment can help with some acute low back pain, but only for the short term. I haven't seen anything that really shows the validity of a long-term effect of a chiropractic adjustment. And anytime I bring it up or ask people for some data or to see that, they basically just tell me I'm a heretic, I'm an asshole, I don't care about the healing powers of chiropractic, and I shouldn't even bother being in the profession. So that really gets us nowhere. There's a lot of biases in the world that we go through, and one of them is just confirmation bias. It's like, I'm just going to do what I do no matter what. So I got tired of all the charlatans, all the snake oil salesmen, all the shitty people. You know those people out there. They're those chiros that sell you a $5,000 or $10,000 package, and they're going to fix all your problems. They're going to really screw you over. Fuck you over in the nicest way possible. And I started calling these people out. And I really think nothing is worse than taking money from people that are in pain and in need and making false promises. I get better results when we treat the soft tissue. And that's just what works for us. What works for the clinics that I run. What works for the people that I train. When we treat the soft tissue, it does better. It goes back to that analogy. Think of this as like your bone being a brick that goes out of place. And you keep putting the brick back. And what holds the brick in place is the mortar. The mortar is that soft tissue. So if the brick keeps going back and you don't fix the mortar, it's going to keep going. But that's what people get. I understand the business model of chiropractic. They want you to keep coming. And I do think you need ongoing treatment, but not what you think. And if that treatment isn't actually fixing your problem, you don't need to do that treatment anymore. So what should you do instead? In all honesty, you should get to someone that does soft tissue work. Some of the chiropractors out there, they dabble in it. They'll do some seminars here and there, but at the end of the day, they're really not that great at it because it's like a secondary to the adjustment. They still default back to the adjustment. If you really want the best in the world, you can find what I call a peak method trained practitioner. That's who we train. That's who I coach in soft tissue treatment. And they only do specifically soft tissue treatment. If you want to find one of those, there's a link in the profile, wherever you're listening to this. You can find it on our Facebook page, on our podcast page, our Instagram page, everything like that. And lastly, if you've been going to anyone for visits for over 12 visits and you aren't any better, I'll be honest with you, it's not going to work. So I want people to be better educated. I want to do these podcasts to help educate people because at the end of the day, people need better education about what's going on with their injury so they can get the treatment that they deserve and live life pain-free at their highest level, as I said in that initial podcast about who this podcast is for and who we want to help. So on the next episode, we're going to get into some good stuff. Why traditional physical therapy won't work. Don't worry, I'm not going to spare the physical therapist as well. We already went after the chiros. Now we're going to go after the physical therapist. So if you found this episode helpful, share it with somebody, subscribe, and ask us for help. We're new at all this and just really trying to figure it out and trying to get our message out to other people. And the biggest compliment you can give us is a like, a comment, a share, and a 5-star review on wherever you're consuming this content. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye. If you found this podcast valuable, I hope you leave us a 5-star review. And if you want more content like this, go to thepeakmethod.com/process. Or if you want more information just like this, just hit subscribe.